Welcome to the Beauty Equation podcast, where beauty meets biology, psychology, and art history. This podcast is hosted by myself, Dr. Christelle Oliver-Dussault, Dr. Harpreet Lotay, and a beauty industry expert, Amanda Manholt. This is your space to reclaim agency over aging and beauty on your terms. We're cutting through the noise with evidence-based insights and real talk about aging, self-perception, and modern treatments. No quick fixes, no fluff. Just honest conversations to empower you to define beauty for yourself. Welcome back to the Beauty Equation. I'm Dr. Christelle Oliver-Dussault.
I'm Dr. Harpreet Lotay. And I'm Amanda Manholt.
So last time we spoke about the tired appearance that a lot of us have and doesn't always reflect how we feel on the inside. Today we're going to talk about RBF.
My favorite is, has someone ever told you, smile? Yes.
Yeah, so many times I get that walking down the street, and I've always gotten that. You would look so much prettier if you smiled.
Oh my God, that's a whole other podcast. I think I want to throw up, but yeah.
What is it that sometimes when we're concentrating, we're focusing, we're not paying attention, we might look angry or we might not look approachable, and we give off an aura about ourselves that's just not inviting. Why does that happen?
You could just literally be thinking about, what am I going to cook for dinner? Which always makes me cranky, but it's you're not trying to look annoyed.
Yeah, it's
but
just
our
happening.
faces give it away, right?
Yeah. The RBF look is a global thing. So we talked about looking tired being more of an upper face or mid face thing, if you listen to that episode. But that unapproachable look involves different aspects of our face, both the upper face and the lower face, and it's really interesting. And there's certain structural characteristics that will make you look less approachable, even when you're younger. But I would say almost universally, as we age, we look grumpier.
Yeah. And I think for me, the two areas that stand out are in between your brows when the 11s start to creep up and those muscles start to get stronger. There's a fullness and a heaviness that sets in. And then the corners of your mouth, they gradually get sadder and sadder and sadder and sadder. And the combination of the downturned smile with the heaviness in between the brows and those lines, even when you are feeling fine.
And the mouth itself, the lips itself, as they start to deflate, kind of, and they kind of, they were nice and plump, and then they sort of get more.
Yeah, they curl in and they look pursed, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of how we age. We get stronger muscles in the frown area. So these depressor muscles get more influential in the balance of our facial muscles, where things get pulled down. We start to look more pinched in the mouth. Our mandible or maxillar sort of involutor gets smaller faster than the rest of our face because we're shrinking. We shrink as we age, right? Grandma got shorter as she got older, but her skull shrank too. So we forget about that. But the mid face, the maxilla, and the around your mouth, that kind of sinks into your face. So that's how we age. And that all contributes to that grumpy look and that RBF look as well. But it can happen when you're younger too. It's not confined to older people. Usually it's people who have shorter chins who tend to look a little bit less approachable because the muscle that supports your lower lip becomes a little bit more tense and has more tone to it. And so you look a little bit like you're pressing your lips together, like you're pursing your lips, which is a subtle sign of annoyance maybe. So, so these little subtle structural things have an impact. And I find it so interesting when people come in to talk to you, Amanda. I feel like grandmas come in a lot really wanting to look more approachable for their grandkids. We have had several of those.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of those.
I'm just remembering one in particular where she said, her granddaughter would crawl up into her lap and she would say, why are you mad? What's wrong? And she'd kind of like just to her
Push her
grandma's.
cheeks up.
She's like, I'm not trying to look like I'm 20, but I don't want my grandkids to think that I'm upset at them, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of impact from muscles when you think about it when
Yeah.
it comes to that
Yeah.
that negative sort of unapproachable look of
Yes.
I
angry,
think
isn't
of
it?
the cartoon we have of witches. So they have like their
Yes.
chin is curled all the way up. For those who are watching on YouTube, I'm touching my face. The
Yes.
nose is curled under, and then obviously the skin is aged. There's spots. There's it's
Yeah.
just every layer is off-putting, and we get a lesser degree of that. But the chin up curling is that other muscle you talked about. The frown muscles getting
Yeah.
stronger. Your mentalis
That's
gets
right.
really stronger, and that curls it
Yeah.
up. Your nose muscle, like as your bones shrink and your cartilage softens and the muscle is still strong, the nose will appear kind of more elongated and curled down. And you can actually use
Yeah.
Botox for that as well too. So just again, tying back to a few episodes when I was talking about that puppet game we can play with Botox, those
Right.
subtle changes can just relax those muscles that are stronger, like causing curling up of the chin and pulling down at the corners of the mouth and pulling down at the eyes and pulling down at the nose. And there's another muscle that helps with the smile, that there's areas that actually gets weaker as you get older, so it softens. So by
Yes.
weakening the ones that are too strong, you allow the weaker ones to start kicking in. And it can feel really funny and odd when
Yeah.
it kicks in, but then you slowly start to look a little bit more approachable, a little less angry, a little less
Yes.
like
Yeah, absolutely. So it's another area, just like the eyes, where it's impacted from various aspects, both muscles, both skin, and like that witchy look you were talking about. That curve
Mhm.
is because the mandible, the area around your mouth, starts to get smaller and sink in. So it sort of
Yeah.
contributes to that for sure.
Yeah.
And Botox can be impactful, especially in younger people who don't
Mhm.
look quite approachable, because you
Mhm.
can relax the mentalis. In fact, y- using Botox in and of itself, I believe there was a study done on Botox that looked at younger people in their 20s and sort of assessed their approachability index. I think they sort of looked at attractiveness overall. And these are young women who are very beautiful at baseline, but using Botox increased sort of the openness of their eyes and just made them look more approachable. And you think about back in the days when they used belladonna to give that doe-eyed sort of look.
Yeah.
That's attractive. The bigger eye, the
But
more
like, I
space
don't have my
between the
glasses on or my contacts in.
yes, that sort of adoring look. Botox doesn't necessarily do that to your pupils, but
Yeah.
that is we find it attractive to have an open look, and Botox can change the shape of the eyebrow and the eye area itself to
Yeah.
just look a little bit better. And it's a very, very subtle effect. And I notice when my Botox is wearing off, sometimes I'm not really sure why I don't look as good or look as approachable. It's very subtle. It's not like you're seeing my frown lines or anything, but it's that sort of lack of openness that Botox that will help treat. So then I'm like, oh yeah, it's my Botox. It's been 4 months. So and then when I get it done, I'm like, oh, I feel more approachable. So is it just me that notices that when my Botox wears off, or
No, I'm the
No.
same. It's in the morning, like when I wake up in the morning and I wash my face, I just feel a heaviness in my brows. And again, I just feel like I look a mix of tired and angry. And it just makes me feel
right?
off. And when it kicks back in, it actually impacts my mood. I start to feel a bit more energized and happier.
One of the
Yeah,
places I can tell right away is in my lower face when it starts to wear off because the texture of my skin changes. I start to get sort of that sort of orange peel kind of texture to the skin. Um, so I noticed that, and I think that's because my mouth looks more pursed. Um, and I noticed my eyes look more closed, right?
yeah,
Because
totally,
because this
totally.
muscle,
Yeah,
all these depressors are starting to kind of work again.
yeah,
Um, I think another way to talk about sort of that angry, it's maybe not angry, but sometimes there's like a harshness
Yes.
to
Hmm.
someone's appearance where if you didn't know them and you just looked at a picture of them at rest, which is how we really all look, like I said, when we're standing in a lineup somewhere and we're not thinking to grin at everybody, that there's like an edge, right?
Hardness.
A hardness, and I don't know if you could even say in some cases it's almost like a masculinity. Would you
Yeah.
it could
Well, I
be.
mean, I think we associate hardness with masculinity, right?
Right.
Generally in society. I think that's that mentalis, right? So your chin starts to have more tone. And what that chin muscle does is it presses your lower lip up against your upper lip and it gives you this sort of tense look.
Yeah.
So we start to see this as people get a little bit older. So in their 30s, if they started off with a shorter chin, but then in their 40s and 50s, depending on their aging trajectory and their genetics, they'll feel like they just look a little bit less approachable. And some of that can be from the lower face. So yes, you can use Botox to relax that mentalis muscle. But if their chin is shortened, which happens as we get older, our facial balance, our proportions change, and our chin becomes shorter relative to our midface and our forehead, then we can actually use filler to address that, to lengthen the chin. And when we do use fillers, it actually will relax the muscle too. And that has to do with the physiology of how muscles function. So when we put the muscle at the proper length, it makes the muscle more relaxed and it allows the lower lip to relax a little bit. So that contributes to it. To Christelle's point, she was saying that the rosaurus or the smile muscle becomes less strong, while the depressor becomes more strong
Mm.
because, again, the chin shortens. So we can treat that with Botox as well. And when we use filler, we can use it to actually also tamp down the activity of that muscle too. So, used expertly, filler can be very helpful in that area. And we can also use filler to prop up the corners of the lips. And then we can use filler in the lips themselves, right, Christelle? Because those shrink too.
They do, and that's one of the areas that I think I love treating the most, particularly as you get older, because you're not going for that big Hollywood lip or Russian lip. You're really replenishing that lost volume and it gives hydration and vitality to
Hmm.
the back. And again, you're not just doing the lip, you're looking at the entire area around, and like things like skin boosters can be really impactful in that area, and just again balancing what's been lost, and it will make you a lot more approachable if your lips aren't as kind of curled in and pursed
Hmm.
looking.
Hmm. Yeah. And I would, Amanda, you can speak to this. We get a lot of 20-year-olds coming in asking for lip filler. And when we get older ones, what do they say to you?
God, no.
They don't think it's an option for them.
They really, really don't. And it's funny because I don't know, like some people, they just don't see it. Or they'll say, well, I've
No.
always had small lips, but it's not about making the lips big. It's about making them not look like they've been sucking on a lemon. Sorry. It's that
Yeah.
kind of displeasure.
Yes. And, I think people in their 50s and 40s are scared of lip filler,
Totally.
right? They've seen visible lip filler. And I always say, if you can see that someone's had filler done, that's probably not done well. It You shouldn't be able to see it if it's anatomical, but we all notice the people whose lip anatomy is altered or it's disproportional to their face. But I think in one of the episodes, Amanda, you said, behind the one or two women who you're like, oh God, no duck lips, there's 100 who've had their lips done, but you wouldn't be able to tell, right?
Yeah. My favorite is and we've had this comment multiple times. I'm sure I mentioned it in a previous episode, but when women come in and they're there for their Botox appointment, or they're going to get little bit of filler or something, and they laugh because their husband has said something like, I'm so glad you're not like one of those you're not one of those women because, you don't do those things. You just aged naturally. You're just a natural beauty and you're just accepting it with grace. And they're like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right?
It's all about the skill and, you know, knowing what's going to be the most impactful thing to address on that
Well,
phase.
what age would you say is the oldest that we've done lips on?
Oh, it's 70s.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would not be able to tell, but it's so impactful in turning back the clock for those people and making them look more approachable. For sure. So if you are in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, I would encourage you to consider lip filler, and don't think it's off the table for you. It's about making sure that the volume in your lips matches the rest of your face. And, your lips should be in the same decade as your face, right?
Mhm.
It should fit. And that's the most important part.
Yeah, and I think you do such a nice job when you address, to your point, the oral connoisseur, the corner here
Yep.
that wants to sort of do this, and it's
Yep.
not to make them look like the Joker. It just means at rest, it doesn't look.
Yeah, and that's an area too, the marionette lines, that are tricky to treat, and people want to erase the contour completely, and you cannot erase the contour of the marionette, line, so that would be the line from the corner of your lips down to
Jawline here.
your jawline, yes.
Yeah.
So that's we call it the marionette. You cannot erase that completely if you don't have volume in your cheek and if your nasolabial folds are present, like that, or if they're deep, because then your lower face is not going to match your mid face and that's going to look off. So at every step, things have got to match. So sometimes we'll just sort of support the corners of the lips so that overall your look is very natural. You can have a little bit of lip filler, but we're not making everything flat.
No.
Exactly. It's about restoring balance and making sure
Mhm.
that we're addressing every layer and every angle of your face so
Yeah.
that there's harmony in the treatments that we provide. And oftentimes that will require multiple steps because if we're too aggressive, then that filler's not going to stay in your lip and then you will end up looking like a duck.
Yeah,
So
that's
taking
right.
our time and doing it one step at a time.
And the bonus when you look more approachable is you feel much more confident. And how many times have we seen, Amanda, where people come back and they just have a different aura around them?
Yeah, it's all about confidence, right?
Yeah.
And it's so lovely to see people come in and they just have a different energy.
Hmm.
Oftentimes I think when people come in, there's a bit of a hesitation. We do seem to get a lot of first timers,
Hmm.
and in every decade. And I think there's this sort of worry that is this, am I going to fit in here? Is this for me? Are these people going to be judging me? That kind of thing. And it's nice to see that sort of kind of unwrap itself a
Hmm.
little bit as they
Yeah.
start to feel safe. And then as they start to see the one thing that bugs them the most improve,
Hmm.
we don't use words like erase, like we're not going to get rid of,
Hmm.
things when we're talking about brown spots or lines.
Right.
It's we're going to improve, we're going to soften because again, it should still look like you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the impact that it can have on people's lives when you feel you look more approachable is you will make more social connections, right? If you're standing in the line and people talk to you, you feel more confident going up to people. And generally, it can improve levels of connection. And so that's really what I love about the work that we do is that sort of impact.
Yeah, because that's really what it's all about at the end of the day is, human connection. If we're gonna wax philosophical here, I could do it for hours, but yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes what we do so wonderful.
Yeah.
So don't worry if you feel like you look a little cranky. We have some tools in our toolbox for you,
Yeah.
and we've talked a lot about how muscles do have a dramatic impact on that sort of impression of looking angry or annoyed
Yep.
or unapproachable. And really, neuromodulators like Botox and Dysport, um, they're not the most expensive thing we do by any
No.
stretch of the imagination. And as you always like to say, and I parrot you all the time, is it doesn't last forever. It's not permanent. So, if you stick your toe in and try something and you don't like the results, it goes away. Now, the reality is that doesn't usually happen. People are like, "Oh my God, this is awesome." And then you just have to
People,
come and see us a few times
I
even.
yeah, people love it. You use the word gateway drug. It's so true. It's pretty impactful. So and very, very safe. It's been around for decades, over 30 years. Very, very well studied. So despite all the stuff you might see on social media that suggests otherwise, it's extremely safe. So as a physician, I feel very confident injecting it and have no concerns. And one of the best ways to dip your toe into the aesthetic world of injectables in a safe way.
Absolutely. So look cranky no more, my friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your face tells a story. So if you've had these treatments and have noticed a huge impact, share your journey with us, either through our email or on our social media page. If you're curious about changing how you might be presenting yourself to others, reach out to us or your local clinic, wherever you live in the world. And again, every time, if you have any questions, let us know.
Yes. Until next time.
Bye for now.
Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder. While we're medical professionals, everything shared on the Beauty Equation is for informational purposes only and isn't intended as medical advice. This podcast doesn't establish a doctor-patient relationship, and any medical or aesthetic decision should always be made with a qualified healthcare provider. Our views are our own and don't necessarily reflect those of our employers or affiliated organizations. And remember, the field of aesthetics is always evolving, so information may change over time. See you next time on The Beauty Equation.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who might need to hear it too. We'd love to hear your thoughts or questions. You can send us an email at info@thebeautyequation.com, and you might hear your question answered in future episodes. You can also find us on Instagram at Dr. Christelle MD, at H. Lotay MD, and at Crow's Feet and Confidence. Until next time, keep questioning the equation.